Listen, before the shoes, before the dancing, before the soldier with the red beard, there was only a barefoot little girl named Karen and a road of cold mud that cut her soles to ribbons. Her mother was dying that winter. Karen knew it the way a child knows weather by the shape of the silence in the house. She had never owned shoes, not once. Her feet were the color of bruised plums, and she walked with the careful, animal gait of someone who has learned that the ground is an enemy. And so, when an old shoemaker's widow took pity and stitched her a pair of shoes from scraps of red cloth, clumsy, lopsided, the color of a fresh wound, Karen wore them to her mother's funeral. And in the middle of weeping, she looked down and she smiled. Now, a carriage rolls past on the funeral road, black lacquer, brass fittings, a coat of arms peeling at the corner. Inside sits an old woman whose face is powdered the color of a wedding cake left too long in the sun. She sees the child, she sees the shoes, and something in her, call it pity, call it boredom, call it the particular cruelty of the lonely rich, decides the widow is paid off. Karen is bathed and scrubbed until her skin stings. The red shoes are taken from her and burned in the kitchen stove because they are common, the old woman says, and Karen is not a common child anymore. Karen watches them burn. She does not cry. But somewhere behind her eyes, a small door clicks shut. And behind that door, she begins to want. Years pass the way they do in a rich, quiet house, like sediment settling at the bottom of a glass. Karen grows. She is 15 now, with hair the color of wheat in October, and a face the village whispers about. She is no longer a child. The old woman, half blind, half deaf, calls her good and pretty and obedient, and Karen smiles the smile she has practiced in the mirror. She is going to be confirmed in the church. New shoes must be bought for the occasion. And so they ride into the city, the old woman's gnarled hand resting on Karen's young one, the cobblestones rattling beneath them, and Karen, for reasons she could not later name, feels her heart begin to beat very fast. The shoemaker's shop smells of leather and beeswax and something faintly sour, old glue perhaps, or old secrets. The old woman's eyes are too clouded to see the shelves properly. Karen sees them. Oh, Karen sees them. There, on the highest shelf, glowing as if lit from within, a pair of shoes the color of fresh arterial blood, red Morocco leather, tiny silver buckles. Maid, the shoemaker murmurs, for the daughter of a count, but the count's daughter died of fever, and now they wait. Karen does not breathe. The old woman, mistaking the red for a sober, respectable black, nods her permission. The shoes are wrapped in tissue paper. They are carried home. And in the dark of her bedroom that night, Karen unwraps them and presses one against her cheek, and the leather is warm, warmer than it has any right to be. Confirmation day. The church is full. The bells are ringing. Every eye in the village turns as Karen walks down the aisle in her white confirmation dress, and beneath the hem, two flashes of red, red, red with every step. The priest's voice catches. The old women cross themselves. The other girls go quiet in that particular way. Girls go quiet when one of their own has done something unforgivable. Karen does not notice, or rather, she notices everything and chooses to feel only the smooth leather hugging her arches and the small, thrilling click of silver buckles against the stone floor. The priest speaks of God. Karen thinks of her feet. The hymns rise. Karen thinks of her feet. The wafer is placed on her tongue. Karen thinks of her feet. Somewhere in the back of the church, an old soldier with a red beard begins to smile. Outside the church, the sun is too bright. Karen lingers on the steps, letting the villagers file past, letting them see. The old woman fumbles for her arm. And then, there he is, the soldier, closer now. His coat is the dust brown of old battlefields, and his beard is the red of dried blood, and he is bent over with one knee in the dirt, and he is reaching for her foot. To dust off the shoes, he says. Just to dust them off. Miss, his fingers touch the leather, and he leans close, so close that Karen can smell tobacco and gunpowder on his breath, and he murmurs soft as a lullaby, pretty shoes for dancing. Then he pats the soles 3 times, and he says, stick fast when she dances, stick fast, and he is gone. And Karen laughs. She laughs because what else could it be but a strange old man's joke? Sunday again, communion this time. The old woman is too ill to come. She lies in her great curtained bed, coughing wetly into a lace handkerchief, and the doctor murmurs about lungs. Karen could stay. Karen should stay. But the red shoes are waiting by the door, polished, gleaming, almost, and she will swear to this later, almost humming. She tells herself it is her Christian duty to attend. She tells herself the old woman would want her to go. She tells herself many things in the soft, persuasive voice we all use when we are about to do something we know is wrong. The red shoes go on, the church door opens, and as Karen steps inside the holy place with her mind full of her feet and her feet full of red somewhere deep beneath the leather, something twitches. It begins as a tremor. A small thing, the kind of twitch a tired muscle makes. Karen kneels at the altar rail. She tries to bow her head. Her foot taps. Once, twice. She presses it flat against the cold stone, and the other foot taps. She grips the rail with white knuckles. Priest raises the chalice. Karen's left heel lifts of its own accord, hangs in the air for a moment, and sets itself down a half-inch to the left. And then her right foot does the same, and then her left again. Slowly, very slowly, like a clockwork toy beginning its routine, Karen begins to step sideways along the altar rail, then backwards, then in a small, neat circle. Her face is white, her mouth is open. She cannot scream. The priest is speaking, and the congregation is silent, and a scream would be improper. So she dances, politely, helplessly, out of the church. Out in the churchyard, the dance becomes worse faster. The polite little steps lengthen into leaps. Karen's white skirt flares. Her arms flail for balance and find none. She tries to fall deliberately. She throws herself sideways into the dirt, and the shoes simply bring her upright again, neatly, like a puppeteer correcting a slumping doll. And there by the cemetery gate is the soldier. He is leaning against the iron railing with his arms folded. His one eye is bright. He tips his hat to her, very politely, and he says, in a voice almost kind, "Pretty dancer." Pretty dancer in pretty shoes, and then he laughs. And the laugh follows her through the gate, down the lane, out past the houses, as the shoes carry her, screaming now at last, into the wide, green, hungry mouth of the countryside. She dances through a wheat field at sunset, and the wheat parts for her like water. She dances through a stream, and the cold cuts her ankles, and the shoes do not care. She dances past a startled shepherd who crosses himself and runs the other way. Night falls, the moon rises. Karen dances on, through bramble that tears her white dress to rag, through nettle that strips the skin from her shins. She tries to grab branches as she passes. They break in her hands, or her hands tear free, and still she dances. Hours, hours. Her legs are made of fire now. Her lungs are a wet, rasping bellows. And the worst thing, the truly worst thing, the thing that begins to crack something open in her mind is that the shoes are not tired at all. They are eager. She can feel their eagerness, the way a horse feels eager beneath the rider. They want more. They want forever. By the second day, Karen is no longer thinking in sentences. Thought has been jolted out of her, jolted by the rhythm of her own helpless leaping. She is only sensation now. Pain in the calves, pain in the lungs, salt on the lips, the taste of iron when she bites her tongue mid-spin. She sees a church through the trees once far off, and she tries to dance toward it. Oh God, she tries, but the shoes lurch sideways like a spooked animal and carry her away. They will not go near holy ground. She understands this now. She is in a country with its own geography, and the church is a place she is no longer allowed to enter. By the third day, she begins to whisper a single word, over and over, in time with her dancing. Please, please, please. The shoes hear her. The shoes do not care. On the fourth day, she dances past her old home. The shutters are drawn. There is black cloth nailed across the door. The old woman is dead. Karen tries to scream the name of the only mother she had ever really known, and the shoes wheel her around so sharply that the name comes out as a gasp, and then a whimper, and then nothing at all. They dance her past the graveyard. They dance her past the village square where children point and then hide their faces. They dance her past the inn where the soldier sits at an outdoor table with a tankard of beer, and he raises it to her in a slow toast. Dance, pretty Karen. Dance, dance. And Karen, who had once practiced her smile in a gilt mirror, who had once thought herself clever for fooling a half-blind old woman, Karen at last begins to understand what kind of story she is in. She comes at last, after how many days she will never count, to a small house on the edge of the forest. The roof sags. The garden is full of strange flowers. And in the doorway stands a man in a long leather apron, with arms thick as fence posts and hands stained dark to the wrist. The executioner, he is sharpening an axe on a whetstone slowly without looking up. Karen dances right up to his door. The shoes perhaps have decided to allow this little stop, and she falls to her knees in his garden and she says the words that no 15-year-old should ever have to say. Please, sir, please cut them off. Cut my feet off. The executioner sets down his whetstone. He looks at her for a long moment, at the rags, at the blood, at the shoes still twitching beneath her where she kneels, and then very gently, the way a father might brush hair from a daughter's face, he says, "Child, are you certain?" And Karen, weeping, nods. He carries her inside. He is kind, in the way some hard men are kind, economical with words, careful with his hands. He gives her something dark to drink that tastes of cloves and earth. He tells her not to look. She does not look. There's a sound, twice, a wet, decisive sound, like the splitting of green wood, and then a silence so complete that Karen can hear the kettle ticking on the stove. And then through the open door, she sees them, her feet, in the red shoes, dancing, across the executioner's garden, out through the broken gate into the dark wood. They do not slow, they do not look back. They simply dance, dance, dance into the trees, independent now, free now, two small red things that had wanted only to dance and which had finally gotten their wish. He makes her wooden feet, plain blocks of pine, hollowed, padded, strapped with leather. He makes her crutches from ash. He teaches her over many weeks how to use them. He does not charge her. He does not ask why a rich girl from the manor was dancing alone through the forest in shoes the color of blood. He has been an executioner for 30 years. And he has learned that some questions only sharpen the suffering of those who would have to answer them. When she is strong enough to leave, she does not go back to the empty manor. She walks clack, drag, to the parsonage at the other end of the village. And she knocks. And when the priest's wife opens the door, Karen, who once thought herself above all common work, asks in the smallest voice in the world if there is any place for a servant girl who is willing. They take her in. They are good people. The priest and his wife. They do not pry, they do not gossip. They give her a room above the kitchen, and small useful tasks her wooden feet allow. Sewing, peeling, sorting lentils, watching the children. Karen works, Karen learns silence. Karen learns the particular grateful patience of those who have been broken and have not been killed by the breaking. But on Sundays the bells ring. The family puts on their best, and Karen waits for them to leave. And then she takes her crutches and she goes to the front step of the parsonage, and she tries, every Sunday for a year, she tries to follow them to church. And every Sunday before she can cross the road, the red shoes appear, dancing in the doorway of the church, empty, waiting, daring her. And Karen turns around and goes back inside and weeps until her ribs hurt. A year passes, then another. Karen is 18 now, then 19. Her hair has darkened. There is a stillness in her face that frightens new servants when they first meet her, and which the priest's wife has come in private to call holy. One Sunday evening, when the family is at vespers, Karen sits alone in her small attic room. The light is failing. The crutches lean against the wall, and she begins, in a low, even voice, to confess, not to a priest, not to God, not even to herself, but simply aloud. Into the dust of the room, she confesses the vanity. She confesses the smile at the funeral. She confesses the laugh at the soldier. She confesses every small turning away, every secret pride, every moment she chose the shoes over the soul. She does not ask forgiveness. She only names the things, and as she names the last of them, the room begins very softly to fill with light. An angel stands in her room. Karen does not startle. Some part of her has been expecting this visitor for years. The angel is not the bright cherub of paintings. It is taller, stranger, with eyes the color of distant weather, and it holds in its hand a green branch full of roses, and the roses smell so strongly of summer that the small dark attic seems suddenly very large. Angel does not speak in words. It simply looks at her, and in that look, Karen feels all at once every patch of sunlight she has ever stood in, every kind face she has ever been shown, every breath she has ever drawn that was not deserved and was given anyway. Her chest fills, It fills past filling. The light comes up through her ribs, through her throat, through her eyes, and her heart. That small, bruised, stubborn thing that had wanted only red shoes and ended by wanting only mercy. Her heart bursts like a soap bubble in the sun. Outside, somewhere in the dark wood, a pair of red shoes finally stops dancing and falls quietly into the moss. And Karen's soul rises on a pillar of sunlight, up through the parsonage roof, up through the evening sky, up to a place where the story promises no one ever asks about the red shoes again.